Hello and welcome back. Today I will be making spice wine made out of grape juice, store-bought grape juice, and spices. We already made it. We have not made a video on it, and there probably won't be any tasting because I've drunk all the bottles in the period of maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So that's why I'm making another one, and this time we decided to record it. So let's get straight into it. All right, so what we're going to use, it's very simple. We're going to use store-bought juice. This one is from Flash and Post. It's called the Burr. 100% grapes, of course. Apart from that, we will use our yeast, EC1118, the most important. We will also add a little bit of sugar. I already know how much. I will walk you through the math exactly later on. And of course, in the end, we'll be adding spices. What kind of spices? I don't know in English. Cloves, Nelken in German. We're gonna be use cinnamon stick, most likely. Yeah, we will use maybe. And then piment is basically allspice, right? So those three we will be using. Again, tasted amazing previously. I have very high hopes for it. We're doing it again. We're using the same juice that we liked before, this time for sure. So yeah, what we're going to do, of course, at the beginning, I'm going to take my fermenter and we're going to first of all put sugar, because why not? We'll start with sugar. Now the amount of sugar I will be putting inside here, it's 400 grams exactly. Now the reason for 400 grams, it's very straightforward. In these juices here, they of course have sugar in them. The amount of sugar in them, for anyone who doesn't have the same exact juice, is 154 grams in 1 liter. Okay, so if we do just this without any sugar, we would have probably around 7-8% alcohol, because it will still ferment, of course, just not as much. So I'm adding extra 100 grams of sugar per 1 liter to have more alcohol tolerance, higher alcohol percentage in it, and it will come out roughly, should at least come out roughly around 13% alcohol. We'll of course see how it goes, but that's basically the math, right? We're doing 254 grams of sugar per 1 liter. All right, let's get to it. Turn it on first. Yes. All right, we have exactly 400 grams of sugar, and simply as that, we'll put it in. It's very simple, as you guys already know. To make wine, all you need is yeast, sugar, juice, right? And yeast. Obviously, in this case, actually, we'll be using D.A.P, but about it, we will talk in a second. Okay. On the side here, I have a bucket to sanitize everything in Starsan, of course. Sanitization is quite important to make sure there is consistent wine that comes out great every time. All right. And we will now pour 1 liter of juice. Of course, we'll end up pouring all 4 liters, but the reason I'm pouring only 1 is to make it easier to shake it, as well you need to dissolve the sugar, right? There's 1 liter. Side here for now, button on top. And now the best part, shaking. I'll probably cut it for you because it's quite boring. All right, the wine seemed to be settled nicely. Seem to be integrated, the sugar inside the juice. Now, yeah, that's what I'm doing, is basically looking if there is any sugar in the bottom. If you see sugar in the bottom, shake it some more. If you don't, it's probably done. Now, I'm going to pour in the rest of the juice. By the way, if you like what you see, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, let us know. what you think of the videos. Let us know which format do you prefer. Let us know what wines have you done and what wines you want to see us do as well in the future. All right, now we have all our juice in. We have our sugar in, mixed in very nicely. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put spices, right? As we mentioned, this is a spiced wine, and spices are quite important. So, no, DAP, not yet. What we have here, we have our cloves. Now the amounts, I would say everyone should investigate and put as much as they believe is best, whatever, depending on what they enjoy or not. Now, some of the spices really can be overpowering and really can take over the brew. And later on, instead of tasting a grape, you will be tasting, well, clove, cinnamon, or whatever you put. So you really have to find the right balance. We put in not a lot of spices. I'm gonna put 1 clove. Okay. Put it back in. And we're going to put 1 cinnamon stick. We prefer sticks. I don't know why. We just agreed on the sticks and we just bought them. And, that's what we're gonna put. Cinnamon stick in. So close it nicely. And the last one, we're going to put piment, which is allspice. Now, these I will put a little bit more, not too much. I think I will just put 5. It should be good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And now again, you could put much more if you wanted, or much more. Maybe not much more, but you could put more, cinnamon or more allspice or more cloves. But again, some of the spices can be very, very overpowering. And again, you can play around and see what you like, or you can take exactly the amounts we're using, and in the future, if you make any more, you can adjust them. That's the roughly amount we used last time, and it tasted amazing. That's why I'm doing it again. Now, when it comes to a spiced wine, one very important thing is that spices could result in wine stalling, right? And the end of the day, what happens is this is something that's not really fermentable. It's extra, additive in the wine, and it could result in the yeast and the end of the fermentation being like, nope, I don't want to ferment any lower. It happened in the past actually with our second wine. So with our second spice wine, the one that I said I've mentioned, I drank very fast. So essentially, what happened is it's stalled at 1.030 or 35, which is higher than usual sweetness, like what we enjoy. But because of the spices, it actually tasted amazing, and we just decided to bottle it as it was. Of course, before bottling such a high gravity wine, we had to pasteurize it first, which we did. But nevertheless, it was really, really good, right? So it really depends on how the process goes, and in the end, we will exactly calculate how much gravity there is. For now, I'm not too worried about it. What we will use is EC1118 yeast and D.A.P. D.A.P should also help give it extra kick. And when it comes to the fermentation, we're running out actually of D.A.P, so I literally just ordered more before starting the video, and there should be more coming very soon. Right, so just before we add yeast, we're gonna measure gravity. We could measure gravity actually after we add yeast, but I might as well do it right now. There is no problems there. What we need, of course, is a cylinder, turkey baster, which is dripping with the sanitization liquid, which is good, and hydrometer. Oxygenating the brew again is not really an issue right now, and we're going to measure it. Let's see what we have here. What we have here is a lot of foam, which is always fun. What I do, I just take a turkey baster at the beginning and just suck it out slightly, because why not? It's very difficult to read when there is so much foam. Okay, let's see what we have here. Hydrometer. Okay, my assistant in the background will write it down on a paper, so we keep that in mind for later on. It's 1.084, I believe. There's still a little bit of foam, so it's really difficult to read. I'll give it one more swoosh, just to make sure. Yes, 1.084. Okay. Now what my assistant will do in the background will calculate potential alcohol for you, so you guys know what, if it goes all the way dry, what can happen. All right, so we know that the number, if everything goes perfectly fine to final gravity of 1000, it will be roughly around 11% alcohol. And this is perfect because 11% is more than enough for us. We're not pushing this wine to the limits. We could make 18% wine if we wanted to because of the yeast we are using is champagne yeast, but this is not the goal for today. The goal for today is to make very nice spiced wine, and this is what we're doing. So the math, as I mentioned already before, what we did, we added the sugar to the juice. The total amount of sugar, including the sugar in the juice, is 254 grams per 1 liter, which will resolve in the total amount of sugar displayed on the screen, since we used 4 liters of juice. Now the next step after it is gravity reading, which is very important. Current gravity is 1.084. And if you want to roughly predict what your wine can result in, well, since this is 18% alcohol wine, it should go all the way dry. And if it does, it would result in gravity 1.000, which would result in 11% alcohol, as I mentioned. Because of the formula on the screen, it's very straightforward. There is a lot of different formulas. This is the one we use, and it works just fine. One thing to keep in mind, it's all approximation. We are a homebrewers. We're not here to do exact math. Obviously, we're doing the math. We're trying to measure and calculate and write it down to remember, because it's important to know what you do and what happens with the brew. Imagine that we didn't do hydrometer reading. What would happen is in 2, 3, 4 weeks, 2 months, whenever we think the fermentation is finished because there is no more activity in airlock for a long time, it could happen that the wine is basically stalled. And if we bottled it then when we think it's finished, and for some reason temperature raises or something happens, and the fermentation restarts in the bottle, when not great, right? You can see what I'm going with it. So something very simple as a hydrometer can really help. Okay, but yeah, what we're going to do now, as I promised already, we're going to put the yeast. Now I have my cup. The rest goes inside. Now again, everything's been sanitized, so I'm not too worried. Okay, and now what we will do, we will put the yeast. Now amount of yeast, very straightforward. We put 5 grams of EC1118. This is exactly 5 grams. And we put D.A.P. Okay. Now there is almost almost dropped it. There is almost none left. So what I will do, I will just put it all in. As I mentioned, we already ordered more. Actually, the D.A.P we ordered is interesting because I ordered it with vitamins and extra microorganisms, which should help. Should be like basically better version of D.A.P, although not better version of D.A.P. It's a D.A.P with extra things in it, which well, we'll see how it works. Hopefully, won't hurt. Nevertheless, that was 100 grams of D.A.P, and now it's gone. All right, and now what I will do is just mix the yeast slightly. Okay, after mixing the yeast in, we will put it in. Okay, very fast, and it's in. Now there is still some, as you can see in the cup, but it's not a problem. That's why we have a turkey baster. What I will do, I will simply take some out. Okay, put some back in the cup, Mix it again, just to make sure that at least most of the yeast and most of the DAP is back in the solution. There you go, and the cup is almost clean. There is still some left, not a lot though. It goes back into sanitizer. And now what we have is our wine. That all has to do is sit. Now I'll give it an extra spin and mix just to integrate it very easily and faster. It's not necessary though. Last step, of course, is to put the bun in. So we take our bubbler, we fill it with the sanitization water and put on top. And we have our wine. It's as simple as that. It's very straightforward. Now the next steps are basically let it sit. How long? Depends. Can be 5 days, can be 5 weeks, can be more, can be less, really depends. We'll monitor it and we will keep you updated. Of course, if you have any questions or you want to understand a bit more behind the math or how we calculate it, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.